Movies follow patterns, sometimes painfully formulaic patterns. Hallmark Christmas movies follow a pattern so rigidly that it's like the writers got a book of Mad Libs and filled in the blanks. Holly, that's our main character, Holly, or she could be Carol or Joy. She's a successful big city woman with a career, and she hates Christmas for reasons yet to be revealed. She hates Christmas. She's really looking forward to escaping it this year, but at the last minute, she's sent to some small town that really celebrates Christmas. And so it goes, fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks for the local love interest, the imperiled local business, the Christmas traditions, the inevitable relationship complication, the surprising twist, disclosing the fact that she really does love Christmas, and finally the happy ending. Well, different film genres have their own cinematic cliches. Let's shift gears from Christmas and Hallmark to an action flick. The good guys are chasing the bad guys, and they finally catch up with them, but they're holed up in a large, rusty, abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The good guys sneak up and peek inside to make sure this is really the place, that they've really got them cornered, and they see that this is the place. They really do have them cornered, but they are heavily armed. So the good guys pull back, and that's when our hero takes charge. They're hiding behind pallets outside the hideout, and someone asks, "What's the plan?" And our hero says something like, "Well, I'll go around back. You come in from the front, but don't make a move until I give you the sign." Someone has to ask, what'll the sign be? And then just before disappearing around the side of the building, the hero tells them, "Oh, you'll know." The tension grows as the group waits, anxiously, impatiently. And then suddenly something blows up, or our hero drives through the side of a building in a borrowed cement truck. That was the sign. It's impossible to miss. And with that, they all jump into action. That's in the movies. In the real world, the signs are rarely, if ever, so unmistakably clear. I think that's what's going on this morning with John the Baptist. Let me catch you up. In our gospel last week, John burst into our observance of Advent. He was so bold, so confident. He spoke of an axe lying at the root of the trees, poised to chop down the rotten wood of this world. He preached about the one who was yet to come. One who is, he said, more powerful than I. I am not worthy to carry his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. His winnowing fork is in his hand. He will clear his threshing floor and will gather his wheat into the granary, but the chaff he will burn with unquenchable fire. That's what John the Baptist proclaimed so boldly, so confidently. And later, though we didn't read this part yet, later when Jesus arrived at the River Jordan to be baptized, John knew who he was the moment he laid eyes on him. "I need to be baptized by you," he resisted. But Jesus insisted, and that's the only reason John relented and baptized him. And when John baptized Jesus, John saw the heavens open up and the Spirit of God descend and alight on Jesus, and a voice declared, "This is my Son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." The signs were so clear. But that was then. And since then, nothing had worked out the way John had expected. There were no more unmistakable signs, no fire, no winnowing fork, no axe. Jesus failed to offer up any of the unmistakable signs that John expected. John kept himself to the wilderness, subsisting on locusts and wild honey. Jesus was out and about, attending weddings, changing water into wine. John avoided sinners, calling them out and telling them to repent. Jesus sought sinners out, inviting himself to their homes for supper. Jesus told the righteous to mind their own business and leave the judging to God. John tried to hand Jesus an axe, urging him to strike at the rotten wood of this world. And Jesus declined to strike, preferring to point out the new growth, the green places John could not or would not see. And all the while, at least for John, things had gone from bad to worse. Much, much worse. So while Jesus wanders the countryside, John sits rotting in a prison cell, waiting, worrying, wondering if he got it all wrong. Jesus refused to pick up the axe, but John's head is on the chopping block. No wonder John, once so confident, is deflated and disappointed. So he sends his disciples to Jesus with a simple yes, no question. Are you the one who is to come? Or should we wait for another? He wants a sign, something unmistakable. And this is the answer Jesus gives him. Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have good news preached to them. What did John make of that answer? You see, we never actually hear. And so while we might presume that John would have understood the point, in point of fact, we don't actually know. It could have gone either way. Barbara Brown Taylor says this is what Jesus was trying to get across. Things may not be working out the way John wanted, but every now and then in surprising places, marvelous things are happening. People who were blind to the love loose in the world have received their sight. People who were paralyzed with fear are limber with hope. People who were deaf from want of good news are singing hymns. And best and most miraculous of all, tell John that this is not the work of one lonely Messiah, but the work of God, carried out by all who believe. And there is no end in sight. Tell him, I am the one, if you must, but tell him also that, yes, he should look for another and another and another. Tell him to search every face for the face of God and not get tripped up on me. Did John understand that? I'm not sure, but my own best guess is that he missed the point still. I suspect John was still holding out for a sign that would be unmistakable. And so I think that's why Jesus adds a beatitude, a blessing. Blessed is anyone who takes no offense at me. And I think that beatitude, that word of blessing, I think it's intended for you and me as well. For Jesus' final word to John is not simply, "Blessed are you, John, if you take no offense," but blessed is anyone who's not tripped up as you look for something more. You see, like the good guys in an action movie, we might wish for some clear, unmistakable sign telling us we can get to work now. But we may never get such a sign. And yet it's time to carry on with the holy work before us. To take our cue from Isaiah this morning, as Eugene Peterson translates it, energize the limp hands, strengthen the rubbery knees, tell fearful souls, courage, take heart. God is here, right here, coming to put things right. I think perhaps we're all waiting for clear and unmistakable signs of the Holy One in our midst, but the signs remain ambiguous and subject to interpretation, left to the eye of the beholder. Do you see them? There is a cartoon that makes the point. In this cartoon, there are two prisoners locked in a prison cell with bars on the window, locking them in together and separating them from the outside world. The prisoners are much the same, each of them wearing prison stripes, each of them sitting on a stool, and each of them given a canvas and some basic art supplies, allowing each of them to paint what they see. One of them paints the bars, simple black lines in a grid on the empty white canvas. And then that one turns with amazement to see what their cellmate has painted. For the other has painted a blue sky and trees and green grass with birds flying in the light of a bright sunny day. The first could not see past the window that made the room a dank and dark prison, so painted bars. The other looked through the window and painted the beautiful world outside. Helen Keller once talked about the blindness of her seeing friends. This is how she put it. Now and then I have tested my seeing friends to see what they see. Recently I was visited by a very good friend who had just returned from a long walk in the woods, and I asked her what she had observed. "Nothing in particular," she said. I might have been incredulous had I not been accustomed to such responses, for long ago I became convinced that the seeing see very little. So I come to the point for today. Take care not to be offended when we see less than we hoped for, lest we miss the blessing of seeing the signs that are there, signs of the Holy One in our midst, signs of love loose in the world. Jesus offers a blessing to those of us who see more than what is not there, those who see through disappointment to discover what is there and has been there all along. Now, I might leave it there. but it's the season for sending out Christmas cards. So I want to tell you about a Christmas card that John Shea, the Roman Catholic priest and storyteller, once said that he'd like to send. Christmas cards, he said, with 3 different images on the front cover. In one, it would show just a star, a single star, shining brightly but surrounded by darkness. On another, it'd be an evergreen tree, a lone evergreen surrounded by trees without leaves. And on the third, a child, a tiny child wrapped in swaddling clothes and laid in a manger, but surrounded by nothing, a ramshackle shed. And on the inside of each of these cards, the message would be the same. In bold print, it would read, "Have a defiant Christmas." A defiant Christmas, he calls it, because most people want carols and cards that tell us that all is light and green and lovely. They want the signs to be clear and unmistakable, but our faith, he says, is not that facile or naive. And so he interprets the meaning of those cards this way. Christmas, he says, isn't about light. It's about light in the darkness. There's a defiance to the light. It lives in the darkness, but the darkness cannot overcome it. In the seeming dead of winter, when all the trees lose their leaves, the evergreens stay green and awake. The evergreens defy the defoliage of winter. They live and give us a sense of life. And in that third card, being wrapped in swaddling clothes means the child is cared for, but it happens in a place where there is no room in the inn. Even so, in a land that lacks hospitality, the babe is wrapped in love. It can be a challenge to see what God is doing in our world and in our lives. I get that. But blessed are those defiant enough to find a blessing in whatever it actually is that God is doing in our midst. And blessed is anyone who takes no offense.